Welcome to episode 2 of A Nation Betrayed, where we expose the truth behind institutional betrayal in America. From deadly hospital protocols to the weaponization of mandates, censorship, and the abuses of power, A Nation Betrayed gives survivors, experts, and advocates a platform to talk about topics that the mainstream wants to silence. Rooted in the mission of Betrayal Project USA, each episode uncovers hidden agendas in the medical freedom movement and beyond, empowering truth, accountability, and justice for victims across our nation. Today, we're going to discuss breaking the silence about autism, vaccines, and expose the truth with two very special guests, Kasey Kahl and Michelle Spencer. Kasey Kahl, a name you may remember from national television, but whose greatest impact has come far beyond the spotlight. Born and raised in Fresno, California, Kasey's journey has taken him from reality TV to reality's front lines, where health, wellness, and the fight for our children intersect. As the founder of the bodybuilding health and wellness, Kasey has built a powerhouse hub for peptide therapy, vitamin infusions, regenerative medicine, and holistic solutions designed to restore vitality at every stage of life. But it was his own son, Kipton's autism diagnosis, that ignited his fiercest mission, one that led him to establish ACOS for Autism, a nonprofit breaking barriers with innovative testing therapies and resources and a lot of data for families across the nation. Kasey is a father, an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and outspoken advocate for truth in medicine, calling out the broken system that harm our children while fearlessly amplifying solution. He stands anchored in faith, relentless in purpose, and determined to protect the next generation. So please join me in welcoming Kasey to the show.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. Thank you
all much. True, right? It's all true, right? Yes.
It is.
I did my research.
I'm very impressed, and thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here with you guys.
And our next guest, Heidi, do you want to introduce? She's a very good friend of yours and mine.
Yeah. Yes, I'd like to introduce Michelle Spencer, a registered nurse and whistleblower from Fresno, California. She's come forward with a powerful testimony detailing a disturbing rise in God's babies born dead following the COVID-19 vaccine rollout to pregnant women. Spencer, who worked in postpartum care throughout COVID, reports witnessing an unprecedented increase in stillbirths beginning in spring 2021. Prior to that, she estimates roughly that her hospital would typically see 4 fetal demises per year. After the COVID-19 vaccine was recommended for pregnant women, Spencer began learning of one nearly every shift, sometimes about 4 per week, and just recently 8 baby deaths in one day, followed by 5 the next. Healthy moms and healthy babies suddenly being replaced by babies born dead. In September 2022, an internal hospital email confirmed a record 22 fetal demises in a single month. Spencer blew the whistle by calling for investigations while simultaneously preserving the evidence, such as by sharing the email with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She has appeared in over 100 media interviews, including with Epoch Times, Children's Health Defense. Despite retaliation at her workplace, including the loss of income, she continues to speak out. To quote Michelle, "I'm speaking for the voiceless, God's babies. This is bigger than policy. This is about truth and protecting life."
Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for making the time to come here. So I kind of want to start off with, before we get into like all the latest news, each of you are driven by purpose, by individual experiences, some shared experiences that we all have. But I want you to just kind of give people an idea of how long you've been in this, what I call a big battle, and what drives you, just a little bit of history. And I want to start with Kasey and then Michelle.
You know, I've always considered myself a pretty passionate guy, right? I've always cared pretty deeply about my community, my people. You know, we have a wellness facility, that you did your research on, and we do some pretty cool things. And my whole approach is I want to take out the bad, and I want to put back in the good. All right, if I want to keep it as simple as that, that's my whole mission. And I feel like, you know, since I got my son's diagnosis, a lot of that has shifted from previous. And you know, I didn't really know that there was this big battlefield. You know, I didn't. Yeah, I'll be honest. You know, before my son, I would speak and I would advocate at autism events, and I still didn't know exactly what autism was because the spectrum was so large and so profound. Right? You didn't know what it was, where it came from. You know, it was speculated. You know, you had all these different weird, you know, things that you would feel about it when you talked about it. You know, but when I saw what happened to my son, when I watched, you know, had to watch my own little boy's lights go out because, you know, we agreed to the Dr. Van Beaver to put 5 vaccines at once into my son. You know, we watched what happened to him. You know, it wasn't an autism at birth, that genetic type thing. I watched what happened to my son. The type of autism in today's world, you know, is a vaccine injury. It's brain damage. That's what happened to my son. And I had to watch that happen to my son. And I've watched it happen to millions of other babies in our country, not other countries, our country. And it really makes me sad that, you know, that this is a battle. I can't believe that this is, you know, we have to actually advocate for our babies in this way, and that they are so unhealthy, and it's because of what we've been putting inside of their bodies for so long. And so when I saw what happened to my son, I knew right away that things have to change, and otherwise more and more babies and families are going to be ruined. You know, it's not just the baby that's hurting, it's the families that are hurting. You know, we have to watch our little boy hurt every day, you know, and there's no answers because, you know, our country can't come together and say, okay, well, that is the cause of this. That, okay, we hear you. Maybe it didn't happen to my baby, but it definitely happened to your baby, and we should acknowledge that. They don't want to acknowledge that, and I don't know why people don't want to acknowledge that, and that pains me. And that's why I just want to see people come together and say, listen, all right, well, if that happened to your son, how can we fix it? Because if you can't even do that, where's the empathy and compassion, right? So I'm trying to use battle, but also trying to approach it with love and peace, because, you know,
Sure.
I don't know why there's so much anger and hatred when it comes to what I think caused my son's autism.
You know, that's a great point that you make. Like, it shouldn't be a division. It shouldn't even be a political thing because it's a human thing. Many families are suffering. So for people who don't understand, first of all, how long ago was this? But for people who don't, that this happened to your son, but explain to people, because people don't understand when you say, I saw the lights go out on my son. Explain what that was. I know it's painful, but explain what specifically you saw.
You know, but it's important to also go back on the timeline, because that's why there's these spikes in autism, right? So 5 years ago, back in 2020, and even beyond a little bit, they started saying, these doctors started going, okay, let's start putting more vaccines at once and just knock them out because we're getting paid bonuses in the back end. So hey, let's just add a couple more at their 5 months, at their 6 months, or their initial checkup at birth. So they started adding more and more and more vaccines, as much as they possibly could at once. It got up to 5. Now I think it's up to 6 in 1 in some circumstances.
Oh my God.
Well, the doctor said it was perfectly safe to do 5 in 1 for my son. And he injected my son. We said, okay, fine. We don't really want to. We knew that it was wrong in our guts, but we trusted him. We trusted Dr. Van Beaver, who lied to us, who has seen this happen so many. He knew what was going to happen to my son, or he at least knew the possibilities of what could happen to my son. And so we allowed it. And you know, my son got a temperature of 104, 105. He got so sick. He was very sick for days. We went back to the doctor. We said, Van Beaver, we told you, like, what's going on? Like, what do we do? He said, oh, it can't be from the vaccines. It's impossible. Just take Tylenol. Right? Well, Tylenol is the vessel that transports all those metals and chemicals and adjuvants that you just got injected into your baby's body. And now it thins the blood and allows it to get past the blood-brain barrier. And guess what? You know, when you get that all that nasty stuff past the blood-brain barrier into the brain, what do you think is going to happen to it? Neurological damage. And that's what I meant when I said my son's lights went out. So now he can't develop. He can't speak. He can't go to the bathroom on his own. You know, this is his life. He received a life sentence that he did not deserve at all, period.
It's criminal.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. And there's so many families that are right now just like resonate with what you just said because they're living it as well.
Millions.
Yeah.
Millions of people have been gaslit and manipulated into thinking that, oh, this is just how your son was born. And you know, some of it, that's why I bring up the timeline, is because the timeline is so important. Whereas when they started adding all these vaccines at the same time, that's when the autism started skyrocketing again, because it's a different type of autism. It's not the cute little autism. It's a damaging autism that eliminates your babies from developing for the rest of their life.
Yep.
That's not
exactly.
cute.
Michelle, talk a little bit about what brought you into this battle, because you you had an approach to you have experience with babies and mothers and the way that you felt. I remember you talking about the way you felt when you had to give a baby a shot. Talk about what brought you into this fight.
For sure. I'd love to. And I just wanted to say with Kasey, I think parents feel robbed like exponentially, because these lives are being taken. The babies, they're still there, but everything is just taken from them. So like you said, it's not fair what happened to Kipton whatsoever. And before I get into the nursing stuff, I've always been holistic minded. When I went through nursing school, I wanted to be a holistic nurse. And I remember they asked all the students, they said, what department do you guys want to go into? And out of like 100 students, I was the only one that said, I want to be a holistic nurse. And everyone looked at me like, what the heck is that? And so I've been holistic minded. I've always kind of thought, if you want to be healthy, you got to stay simple, and you need to eat whole foods and not put a bunch of pharmaceuticals in your body. I've always kind of believed that. I never really was comfortable taking like Tylenol unless I had a migraine. I would finally bow down, right? But so the fact that people believe that vaccines are good and that that's the way to health, it's really crazy how they're programmed that way. And then another thing is all the anti-vaxxers, they're anti-vax because they've done so much research. You'll never find an uninformed person who's just out of nowhere an anti-vaxxer, because it's so programmed since birth. I mean, the minute you're born, they're poking you with needles. So it takes so much deprogramming to finally get to where you're like holistic minded in many cases. But back to your question. So with the babies, I've been a nurse for 8 years. I worked on the tele floor for 4 years, taking care of like a lot of older men with heart conditions, recurring conditions where they'd come back, need more medications, go home, not really get better. And it was kind of draining my soul. And so I finally transferred to postpartum in 2020, and I was so happy to be there. I remember thinking, God put me on this floor because I get to take care of these mothers, which I can relate to all of them, from the all walks of life, from the, junkies to the rich moms that stay at home that live in the hills. I don't know. So I felt like this is like such a blessing, and I get to take care of these healthy babies. And then in 2020, during orientation, my trainer said I need to give this vaccine. And I didn't really know a lot about vaccines yet. I just knew that I'm holistic minded in the back of my mind, but I didn't understand that. I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole. And then I gave a vaccine, a hepatitis B vaccine, to a newborn. I held the little baby girl down. I plunged that needle into her leg. And I remember thinking, this feels wrong. There's something, I never want to do this again. My stomach was like turning inside out after that. And I went home and I told my mom, because I was very close to my mom at the time. I'd see her like every day. I told her, I can't do this. I need to go back to tele. I can't poke these babies with these shots. It doesn't feel right. And she would just say, do not quit. Those babies need you and you're saving them. And I was like, okay, how do I get out of this then? And so I went down the rabbit hole. I researched hepatitis B vaccines and I was horrified. I was like, wow, I can't believe that they're injecting babies with a sexually transmitted disease. To prevent a sexually transmitted disease. And so I was questioning that. And I started asking my boss, I asked people around me, and they're like, well, you just have to, like, so you prevent them from getting liver cancer. Like, I'm like, what? It doesn't make sense. And so the more I ask them, they're like, no, you just give it. You don't ask about it. Like, it's part of your job. And so it was very confusing. So I started going to work and I was dreading it. And I started telling moms, hey, this hepatitis B vaccine is to help prevent your baby from getting a sexually transmitted disease. But your baby's not going to have sex with anyone for a very long time. So the risk of getting that disease is 0. And if you have someone having sex with your baby, you have a lot bigger problems than worrying about a hepatitis B virus. I started giving moms informed consent, not even really knowing that this is what I was doing. I just knew that I'm not going to give that shot. So I'm going to try to get out of it. And so over many years, the last 4 years, 5 years, I have probably had over 200 moms decline the hepatitis B vaccine. And so maybe that's only 1 or 2 per day, but that adds up. That's a lot. And over that time, I've been telling all the nurses too, don't give that vaccine. You're harming the baby. You're chemically assaulting that baby. It has these ingredients: formaldehyde, polysorbate 80, all this toxic junk that the baby should not have in their body. And I said, and we know the autism rates are through the roof. And so a lot of the nurses are uncomfortable now with giving that shot. I'm like, good. Talk these parents out of it. And then, so a couple nurses have complained about me to my boss. So my boss had to call me into her office and she said, Michelle, I know you have your beliefs, but you need to do what's required of you per the institution. So does that not sound like Nazi Germany?
It really does. And what is required of you? What is required of you as a nurse is to give informed consent.
Right.
Like they literally called you and do no harm.
Yeah. I told her, no, I'm not going to chemically assault a baby. And every time a nurse gives that vaccine, they are chemically assaulting that baby. I said, RFK is working on this issue right now. And she just said, well, if you have an issue, you can talk to the head pediatrician. I said, okay, I'll talk to her. So I went and I talked to her. And she was just as useless, right? The conversation. She was like, oh, the vaccine doesn't have the ingredients that you're thinking. It's other ingredients and they're not toxic and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. So I took a note of that, told my attorney. But
see, that's the thing, right? It's not just that they don't want to give informed consent, but they want to do the opposite of informed consent, and that is gaslight and lie.
I know. And that pediatrician, the head pediatrician for Fresno Community, UCSF, she has the transgender flag thing on her badge and her pronouns, she and her, listed on her badge. And that's so far away from the whole family dynamic, in my opinion. And then for her to say, oh, these aren't toxic to be putting in your baby. She's the head pediatrician. And so I don't feel right about that either. But so I've been taking a lot of notes because I have I was going to talk about the lawsuit a little bit too. So now that I went on my whole rant about hepatitis B vaccines, this actually, when I started working on postpartum in 2020, I didn't really see any fetal demises at all. I didn't really know what a fetal demise even really meant, but it's a stillborn, and a lot of times when women miscarry, which does happen, unfortunately, prior to 2020, of course, it happens in the first 12 weeks more than anything. So, unfortunately, and it's devastating, every single one of them, because every single life matters. But when this vaccine started rolling out, the COVID vaccine in 2021, we started having mothers coming in to deliver their babies and their full term, and their babies had already passed away inside. And before 2021, there would be like 4 per year that had a fetal demise at any term gestation. And now it's 4 per week still. And we're in 2025, and this started in 2021. And this isn't like prior to 12 weeks. I don't even see those. Actually, I don't see the prior to 20 weeks at all. I see the 38 weeks, which is they're already due to be born, and they're passing away inside. 36 weeks, anywhere from 20 to 38 weeks. There's 4 of them dying per week still. And so I have been speaking out because that's just, I'm really loud, apparently. And so when I got this crazy email, which I'm sure, I know you guys know about it, but in September of 2022, I got that email that the nurse educator sent to everybody, and saying that there's been this huge increase in fetal demises. So I did send that straight to RFK. And turns out that was preserving the evidence. So
wait, can I ask you, I want you to explain something about that email before you go on. It wasn't an email that said, oh my gosh, there's an increase in fetal demises and we need to figure out what's happening. It was how to handle the bodies and which buckets to put them in, right?
Yeah, it was not, oh my gosh, something's going on, we need to figure this out. It was, you need to brush up on your policies because there's been this increase in dead babies. So you need to know how to handle the dead baby's body, which includes putting it in a bucket, filling it with water. And then, no. So it was a very disturbing email. It was very heartless. It was like there was no human emotion in there. So I was absolutely disgusted when I read the email. I sent it straight to RFK, and I sent it to Heidi's friend, and who sent it to RFK. Then from there, he sent it to like 16 different people, and he said, take care of this. And so then I had no idea that I was going to be speaking out about this. I had no idea what was going to happen in that moment. All I know is God put me there at that computer to see that email, to send it to RFK, because there's no other way to explain this. And so RFK sent it off to some people, and then people started calling me, and they said, hey, can you talk about this email? And I said, yeah, sure. And, prior to that email, about 8 months prior, my mom was murdered by the COVID protocols, the same experience that you went through. Thankfully, your husband was able to save you. And I tried to save my mother, and they wouldn't let me. And at the time, I wasn't as brave as I am now. And so when I sent the email and they said, hey, can you talk about this? I was like, sure, because I'm not holding back anymore. And so I realized that I thought they were going to fire me after a couple months went by and I was speaking out. And they investigated me. They said, are you aware that it's against company policy to copy and paste this internal document? And I said, why are you wasting your resources investigating why I copy and pasted an email? You guys need to be investigating why babies are dying. And then they didn't fire me that day. So I think I just said the right words at the right time. And so I'm still working there. And then with this hepatitis B nonsense, how they keep telling me to be quiet and follow orders, I finally had enough. And so I called Mary Holland, the CEO of Children's Health Defense. She connected me with Greg Glaser, and now he's helping me fight a lawsuit for basically harassment, fraud, retaliation, unethical business practices, all kinds of huge stuff, which this has all been needing to come out for a long time. And so, I love that the truth is coming out, and I feel backed by everybody all the time. And a couple of years ago, I didn't feel this way. I didn't feel like I had anyone backing me. So now I have you, Heidi, Kasey, RFK.
I mean, it's that the whole movement in and of itself is growing and growing. Right. Okay, I'm going to play just a clip of President Trump's announcement. I know people are
quick. Before you do that, I want to bring it to everybody's attention. That email went out to 200 nurses, 200.
Right.
Michelle was the only one who did the right thing and spoke up in order to save babies' lives.
Yep. That's the crazy part, right? Like you would have thought there would have been more. Out of 200, there's one.
Wow.
And I realized too, you're either going to be a child protector or a child predator. I kind of think there's not really an in between. And so for all those people to read that email and no one else open their eyes, they're on the wrong side, because I think I grew up with my mom protecting children, and I have this in me that I can't turn away from something like that.
It's great. That's a great point. That's a great point, because that's not even just occurring at one hospital. I mean, it's occurring across the nation. So it's more than just, there's very few nurses and doctors. Shame on the doctors.
I'd love to see that data too. I think it'd be so important to see the data across the country for the hospitals. And I feel like if this case goes the way that, I believe it's going to go 100%, I think it'll expose a lot of the hospitals, and then, hey, let's see all your guys' numbers. Let's see what's going on. Let's just stop doing this to our babies and to our pregnant women.
That's Greg's plan.
Right.
Is in discovery to start having all the hospitals bring all this information to light.
I mean, that should be very transparent. And that's the one thing I really love about, and why I'm hopeful about RFK Jr., being the head of HHS, because it's this big monster of a government agency with all these different moving parts.
It's crazy to me that people even want to question RFK, considering who our previous HHS. I don't even understand.
You're right.
You got people that want to trust and believe a person that doesn't even know if they're a man or a woman, and you want to question RFK, the only person that's ever done anything for our babies. Are you kidding? It's just crazy. I just don't even know where it goes sometimes.
And I wonder, bring it, to the nation's attention right now, is that this is still happening in our local hospitals, Clovis Community Hospital, Fresno Community Hospital, daily, right? Daily. Like the other day, there was 8 in one day. A few days after that, there were 5. And
wow.
Yeah, and what is happening here in Fresno County echoes to this day what is still occurring in all hospitals across the nation.
And they can't undo the damage that has been done to these women that are having, babies. They can't undo the damage. 81% of Americans took that shot.
Well, I think I'm finding ways. Actually, my medical facility, we're doing things with Inspirasis, and we're doing blood cleanses. We're doing peptides, regenerative exosome, stem cell. There's a lot of things that are actually, to detox the body and to cleanse the blood and to get out the spike proteins. I am working on a lot of things like that. Again, I just need more funds and resources, but I know how to do it. And I know there's a lot of ways. And this is why, I'm excited for the future, but it's frustrating in the meantime because we're not getting the support that we deserve.
Yeah. And if people want to help you too, they can go to ACOS4autism.org. I've put it in the ticker here. I'm going to play this clip of Trump, and then I want to ask y'all some questions about it.
The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000, and I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it, 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. Does that tell you something? They pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in.
So, okay, I'm going to start with Kasey. So, Kasey, as a father of a child with autism and as a health entrepreneur, and you're doing all of this great work in that space, what was your reaction to all that came out? Was it enough? What was your reaction?
I mean, I am grateful that we are making at least a little bit of progress, right? We're talking about it, and we're opening up the minds of people that are so against even the thought of admitting for a second that there might be a possible connection of the vaccines and autism or brain damage or vaccine. It's crazy that you can't stop and just think about it. You got all these negative, bad, nasty, bad chemicals and toxins, and you're going to put all of these into a newborn baby. What do you think is going to happen at some point? Like, it's crazy to me that you don't even want to logically stop and think, oh, you know what? Maybe that could happen, man. Maybe we should really start questioning these things. And then you realize that none of these childhood vaccines have ever been properly tested, ever. So again, I'm grateful that we're talking about it, but they're just behind. And I'm a dad that's far ahead, and I am scaling so many different types of treatments and testings on our babies and approaching it at a biological level. And the problem is that they're just not learning about it. They're talking about Tylenol. Okay, listen, acetaminophen, great. We've been talking about these lawsuits for 5-10 years. Okay, they've been there. Yeah. In fact, literally Tylenol. I saw a tweet from Tylenol literally back in 2017 where they literally said, "Don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant ever. It's against Tylenol." Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just like that's way beyond. Like, we're past that. Leucovorin, I did that 3 years ago. Okay, I'm so far ahead of the game. Like, let's start moving faster, which is why I am like, no, Gavin Newsom, we need to undo the mandates. We need to do this. We need to do that. Like, let's start making these moves so we can start saving our babies. So no other parents have to endure what me and my family have had to endure. That's it. I don't know why that's rocket science.
So hard. Michelle, what was your response? Because you were saving babies before saving babies was cool.
Well, I'm grateful too, because it was the tip of the iceberg. It took me a while to go down the rabbit hole too. I had to hear it several times. Also, I started doing my NAET treatments in 2020, right when I started working postpartum, and I started having a lot of patients come to my house who they would let me know, hey, I'm anti-vax. And at first I was like, oh, wow. Like it sounded so rare and foreign to me. Yeah, right. And then the more patients that would just say, hey, my friend told me you do treatments. Can I come over and get a treatment? And I would find out most of my patients, 90% of them, they don't vaccinate themselves or their kids. And so I started realizing, like, this holistic crunchy side, they don't vaccinate. So then I was able to jump on the bandwagon, but I had to hear it over and over again, because even though I was holistic minded, I also went through nursing school. So I ended up following all the rules, and I was being a good nurse, So the fact that they're even mentioning it to the media is huge, because when I had my press conference last month, we invited so many media channels, and a couple of them agreed to come. None of them came. So the mainstream media still doesn't want to talk about it. So, and then even on Facebook, you still get censored when you mention vaccine or whatever. And so there's still a stigma. And so, yeah, of course, I'd love it if they would just say vaccines are all bad. None of them are safe and effective. Don't take any more.
They're all poison. Yeah.
But I understand they can't, because they might not be there yet. Or they have to kind of go slow so enough people can start switching over. Another thing is that I said at my press conference, which is really relatable. At first, the truth is ridiculed, then it's violently opposed, Charlie Kirk, and then it is accepted as being self-evident. So I think it's being violently opposed right now.
I would agree. And maybe not even it's been violently opposed for the last 20 years, because, I understand the slow walk to truth or the slow realization, because I had that same experience, right? So, I vaccinated my daughter back in the 80s and 90s. And then my grandchildren are not vaccinated because Children's Health Defense did Vaxxed 1 and Vaxxed 2, right? They did the bust, and then the Vaxxed 3, which me and you are both in. All three of us are in, right? So, but Vaxxed 1, Vaxxed 1 didn't wake me up. I still thought it was rare. Maybe it's true, but it's rare. I don't know anybody. But Vax 2 made me wake up and start looking at the truth. And I realized I knew people whose children had been vax injured and had autism because of the vaccines. And these were people I trusted and respected. And I was like, they wouldn't lie, right? So I think unfortunately you have this situation now where there is a lot of people, because it's been suppressed for so long, there's a lot more families that are impacted. And then somebody and you're like, hey, they wouldn't lie, right? They wouldn't lie. They're good parents. So you have these parents who are, they kind of feel, all right, they feel a little bit vindicated by that statement, but they also feel let down. So what do you say to those families that feel like it's going so slow?
Don't lose hope.
Coming from someone that has been doing this and seen this for 5 years now, we also, Michelle and I both, we work together too. She's also one of my volunteer nurses for ACOS for Autism. And, we see and treat a lot of babies, right? So, I see a lot of 16, 14, 18-year-old kids that are still nonverbal, that still have a lot of problems. And these families have been waiting for their whole life too. And so I understand that some families want it to move faster and move along. Well, hey, start talking about it. You know what I mean? But let's approach the situations with peace and love and not ignorance. And, let's not let people get to us that are sitting there guzzling Tylenol bottles because they think that they're trying to prove a point. I mean, it's sad. Our world is cynical. Like, I don't know why people want to try and prove Trump so wrong or prove RFK so wrong that they're going to down Tylenol just to prove a point. I'm watching these pregnant women take Tylenol. I'm like, do you know how silly you look?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, and I'm trying to think to myself, do Democrats really condone this? Do you endorse this type? Is that what you guys want for your party? Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm in the middle, right? I'm not all over whatever. I have different views and different perspectives, right? And we all do. I'm like in the middle, and I think most people are. But I'm looking at these Democrats. I'm like, are you really? When you look at these people that are doing this and acting like this, are you really like labeling them party? Maybe you should start condemning that too, just a little bit, so that we can start working together and start labeling these people that are that ignorant, that want to down Tylenol bottles just to prove a point. That's a derangement. That's a problem that we don't need in the country. So let's not do that, but let's come together, because we're all pretty much normal people, I'd like to think, for the most part.
I mean, emergency rooms have dealt with Tylenol poisoning for decades, right? Like, I mean, you feel like that's not a new concept.
No, but people just need to stop and let's come together. Let's stop arguing. I'm going to look at your facts, and if you want, let's have a calm conversation. I'm not an angry person. I'm very mad at what happened to my son, but I will come with you with peace and love, and I want to tell you all the things that I know, because I can tell you every single ingredient that's in every single vaccine and what it can do to your body, especially before the first year of birth. So, I mean, for me, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, the logical thing is to think, if you're putting poisons and toxins into your baby's bodies, maybe something is not right with that. So let's all come together. Let's start there. And if we can start there, I think we can get somewhere.
Yeah. And speaking of love and kindness, we are going to go to a clip of yours, which I thought was a very kind way to speak to the other side of this argument. But Michelle, what would you tell families that are discouraged?
Don't lose hope and come to the bodybuilding, because we have a lot of resources for parents who feel robbed, and that I've treated so many children with vaccine injuries that have made tremendous progress using Nayet. So please just come to get treatments like today. Sign up.
Come hang out and come see what's up. Come get a consultation, right? Come see Michelle. And if you're just curious about your health and wellness, and you want to be, in a better place health-wise, and you want to feel good, you want to do things for your body that are actually going to help you, not hurt you, that's what we do.
And where do they go to do that? Is that the acosforautism.org, or is that a different site?
No, so no, it's the same site. So the bodybuilding health and wellness is my main business, right? That's my for-profit business. It's not very profitable, but it's my for-profit business right now. We're trying to turn that around. But I decided to put my nonprofit facility inside of this facility. So,
Okay.
I put everything into that building. So it's both. We have the ACOs for autism here, but through that we get to do a lot of testings and treatments because I have the bodybuilding, health and wellness. So, it just goes hand in hand with what my approach is.
Awesome.
And then as far as like finances, like people just come and get a treatment. Don't worry about the finance part of it. Like, in my opinion, Children's Health Defense is paying for a lawsuit for me to go to battle against Goliath. Like, I want to pay it forward to these autistic kids. So just show up, just come to these, get a treatment, please. We're here for you guys.
Yeah. And of course, donate because this is a huge lift.
There's a lot of things that we can do with funding and resources. I am very close to reversing a lot of these symptoms of this neurological autism, and I'm so close with regenerative therapy, peptide therapy, stem cell exosomes. There are things that are helping getting past the blood-brain barrier to help actually regenerate the brain cells that have been damaged. So, I'm testing things, I'm pioneering this stuff. It's crazy. If people were to listen to Jenny McCarthy 20 years ago, like I said, all of our babies would have been saved.
Yeah, exactly. Do you work with doctors, nurses, clinics outside of California where like you're sharing the information and, because
I'm open to anyone that wants to come and have a conversation. Again, I want to explore. I want people to join the team. Right? Like, come on, like, let's go. Let's find some answers. Like, let's stop negating and delicately dancing around this stuff. Like, we got to move and we got to help our babies. And that's what I'm trying to do. And we can't do that by sitting on our feet, doing nothing about it, pretending like vaccines don't cause autism.
Yeah.
We're going to get nowhere with that attitude.
We're having a spaces on Saturday on this topic, X spaces. It's betrayal_PROJ. 1 p.m. Central. This would be great if you guys can make it to just talk about what the work that you're doing. So, because it does give people hope, and the world is short on hope. So I'm going to play this clip, and then I kind of want you guys to respond a little bit to it. I love this clip. I love everything that you say in this clip. So I'm going to play it.
Heartbreak. First off, thank you all so much who shared and supported our exemption message yesterday. I appreciate that very much. But it really did show me that we have a serious problem in California. So many families have been affected like mine, that are hurting, that are struggling, that are looking for exemptions to not have to put any more of these poisons into their body. Gavin Newsom, I am calling on you from father to father to please set your differences aside with Donald Trump. And please unite us on the one issue that we should be united on, and that is the health and safety of our children. Vaccines cause autism. I know that I'm not a doctor, but I have done more research on every single ingredient that goes into every single vaccine and what it can do to our babies in their first year of birth, like it did to my son. I don't want to see this happen to any more families. The reason the rates are spiking in California, Gavin, is not because of anything else except for they are giving more and more at once. These babies cannot handle the amount of aluminum, mercury, the adjuvants, the metals. It goes past the blood-brain barrier and does havoc on the brain. This is not the same autism that you think it is. We're trying to tell you that this autism, this vaccine injury, this brain damage, it's not the same. It destroys families. And I'm asking you to take a minute to listen to me, father to father, and just understand that there is more to this than maybe even you understand and can comprehend. I watched my son's lights go out. No other father or mother should ever endure that. And that is what I am trying to fight for. Stop the mandates. None of these vaccines have ever even been tested safely. Do you understand that? I know that you know that, so please unite us on this. Just come talk to me. Come see what we're doing. We're doing incredible research. Come see my research. Let's have a conversation. Please stop dismissing me like you dismiss so many families, millions and millions of families, If we would have listened to Jenny McCarthy 20 years ago, all of our babies would be saved. Right now, Gavin, you have the opportunity to save millions of babies by just stopping the mandated vaccines in California. Stop poisoning our babies. Just because some babies got out okay doesn't mean that others are. Putting this much toxic chemicals into a newborn, 87 doses in their first year of birth. We're damaging them. We're hurting them. And that is the reason of the spikes of the new autism. This is not the same as the old autism. This is new. This is where you put 5 and 6 in 1 vaccines at once, and it wreaks havoc and creates damage in the brain and the microgut biome. And then they can't develop. My son's still in diapers. He'll be in diapers forever unless we do something about it, unless you do something about it, Gavin Newsom. I plead you to come have a conversation and stop dismissing us like millions of families have been dismissed before. And let's actually make some fucking change. Excuse my language there at the very end, but couldn't really let that one slip.
I love everything about that statement because it's very passionate. Yeah, and you get, but the point is so clear. Let's have a conversation. Like, we can't even have a conversation about it. Like, the data's there. The data's been there. The evidence is there. You know what? The evidence is there because the children exist. The families exist. The families have spoken out. The movement has grown because, unfortunately, the movement has grown, and it's grown on the backs of gaslit mothers and fathers and harmed children. The carnage is incredible. The carnage should have never happened, and it's 20 or 30 years, probably 30. I mean, you know, I've only been awake for 10 of those. So, you know, that tells you a lot. But
here in California, it's mandated in order to go to school. You have to get the vaccines. It's criminal.
That's why it's 1 in 4 boys now, you know, and that's why the spikes are happening, because you have mandated vaccines in California. And it's on Gavin Newsom. It's stop the mandates. I mean, if you just look at the simple basic numbers, if you stop the mandates, you'll stop the spikes, because people will start to realize they shouldn't be putting these poisons into their newborns' babies' bodies. And I tell every couple that I've done that. Let me tell you something. Through my messaging and through my passion, I have helped a lot of families over the last few months help not inject their babies. And let me tell you, every single family that I have helped navigate that is happier than ever. And I can assure you, the very few families that continued to go on and go ahead with the vaccines are not happy with what they did.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I cannot put that up.
it's a good point. So what kind of a response did you get from that statement?
Honestly, I have been working all day today. I have not had a chance to even really look at the responses, but my phone is blowing up for sure. I'm hoping, honestly, it just reaches his desk, and I hope it hits him father to father, because I guarantee you that if he goes and asks his wife right now, babe, what do you think about the vaccines? Every mom and every woman has a gut instinct that has told them at some point that these things are bad. Any good mom. So I promise you that his wife has probably thought about this in her bed at night, and I would also be willing to bet that those babies are not vaccinated. But, you know, again, I just want Newsom to hear what I'm trying to say from father to father. I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. I don't want to get in a match of what's what. I want to present him facts. I want to present him my research. I want to present him what I'm actually doing for the babies that are struggling and that are hurting. And then maybe he can help me do something about it, rather than just sit back and go against Trump to just go against Trump. That's all he's doing. You know, when Trump says, oh, we're going to do this, and that, you know, it's like, come on, man. Like, how about ignore Trump? Forget Trump for right now. Come talk to me. Let's fix this. Let's help save our babies, because right now he has the opportunity to save millions of babies if all he did was stop the mandate right now.
That's right. That's right. And let's face it, Trump was a hard sell on this, because RFK Jr. really had to work to show him a lot of data to even get him to this point. I'm shocked that he even got him to this point, to be honest.
I know Trump's got a lot of pharma buddies too that are probably yanking on his coattails, being like, what do you do? What are you doing?
Big time.
And I think that's why Trump hasn't came out and really said end all vaccines right now, because of his buddies. And that's why he's saying the one thing that upset me was, don't be proud of the COVID-19 vaccine. Why are you proud of the COVID vaccine? You should not be proud of that vaccine.
Exactly.
Stop that right now. Stop it. Someone's telling you to say that. Someone's paying you to say that. You are not proud of something that's killed millions of people. Stop that.
Exactly.
You know
Exactly.
I know that he knows better.
And you all know it's not a left-right issue, right? So like there's big pharma has its hooks, spends a lot of money. They don't put the money on TV in those ads because they think you're going to go down and ask your doctor about it. Yep, that's not what it's about. It is about controlling the narrative of that station so that they don't talk about what we're talking about, right? Yeah. And we're talking about autism and vaccines, but Michelle probably can weigh in on this. There is a worse effect on when you look at the Children's Health Defense stories and the real life stories of mothers and fathers who held their baby down to get the shots and found their baby dead that night. Like that there, it's not just the autism rates. The babies that die after having their wellness check, right? Like, I'm sorry, you can weigh and measure your kid at home, but the wellness checks. Speak to that, Michelle.
Well, it's horrific. I've heard that most cases of SIDS were within like 72 hours after a wellness check. And your baby doesn't need a wellness check. If your baby is well, why do you need to go to the doctor? So they should just be called vaccine checkups, because that's all it is. And I hear that the pediatricians make bonuses off of that. If parents go in there and they say that they're not going to vaccinate their kid, the pediatricians will kick them out of their practice. So it's horrible.
Another thing they do, have you seen this, where they make the parent sign a declaration that they know that they're putting their child at risk if they don't get it?
Yes, they do that at my work. So if a patient doesn't want the hepatitis B vaccine, not only do we put in the computer on the MAR that they're declining, then we have to have them sign a paper that says the nurse went over this with you, the risks of not getting it, and make them sign. It's ridiculous. I'm like, why do you have to make them sign?
There's no reason to make them sign. It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question.
Exactly.
Right. You want the vaccine or not? No. Okay. So
exactly.
Here's the story. And don't come back in my room 5 more times and ask me again.
Right.
I know. I had a patient the other day who refused all 3, the vitamin K, the eye ointment, and the hepatitis B. I was so happy when I got to work and I heard that. And when I went in the room, I said, "You're my hero." And she said, "Thank you. You're the first person who made me feel like I wasn't doing something wrong." I said, "No, good job. You have done research."
Heck yeah. That's awesome, man.
And she said that doctors.
That's real healthcare. That's real nurse care.
Yes.
That's what that is. That's
exactly.
what that is.
She said 10 doctors went in there and kept saying, "Are you sure you don't want the vitamin K vaccine?" Or I'm sorry, shot, whatever. Yeah. It's just a vitamin. It's not just a vitamin. It's a synthetic vitamin. And your baby got stem cells. Your stem cells are going to do exactly what they need to do to protect your baby. You do not need a synthetic vitamin K. No. That's what I told her, reassured her, but I was so happy. I'm like, yay, finally, these parents are waking up. And it's just a beautiful thing.
So education is a huge factor in here. Not like waking people up, getting the information, further than the, I guess the people who know. But there's a whole lot. There's 3 groups like that I see: people who know and people who understand, people who have that gut feeling something's wrong, but they don't have enough information to say, "Oh yeah, this is why my gut feels this way." And then there's people that have such a confirmation bias that no matter what you say, they will not ever move. Michelle, you and Heidi do a lot to try to educate the general public. Like you do this. I love this right here. I love.
It's perfect.
This is the best ever. They put this billboard up and talk about this. Talk about this campaign you have. You or Heidi, either one.
Well, yeah, after, the email came out, right? And we're like, oh my God, the babies are being born dead. And, and a few months later, driving down the street, I saw that sign. I'm like, they are lying. They are lying. Not only are they not, warning the public and trying to get down to the bottom of this, but they're flat out lying. And so, yeah, I called, my other nurse friend, come help me with this sign. And we put it up, took a picture, and boom.
I like your sign so much more.
I do too.
It's true.
It warns
It's
people.
sad that it has to be there. You know what I mean? Like it's sad that that's what we have to do to get people's attention. We're literally having to jolt you with saying babies are being born dead because it's the truth. And anyone that poo-poos at that or like looks at that like, ooh, why would you do that? Because babies are actually being born dead.
Yeah.
Because the truth has to get out. And here you guys have a complete setup. And I know like you spend a lot of time, events, podcasts out there on the street, anything that you can. And I know Heidi and Michelle, anything that you can do, you are out there educating, because I get the calls from Heidi and goes like, I'm just going to connect you with somebody, right? Boom. And then I'm on the phone. So Heidi doesn't waste, she doesn't let grass grow under her feet. Yeah. So, I love this so much. What kind of a response do you get when you do this, when you have the signs out there with the expecting mothers, babies are being born dead? Do you feel like it's helping?
Well, yeah, it's educating the public, right? It's planting seeds, it's educating the public. Many people have said, yes, my daughter, my friend, my neighbor, right? So if it's happening here, it's happening across the nation. And I want to point something out on this picture. Every single one of those faces are our family, our friends who died in our local hospitals due to the mandated hospital COVID protocol. My best friend's picture's right there. Michelle's mother's right there. So, the COVID-19 vaccines need to be pulled. They need to stop using the mandated and government incentivized hospital COVID protocol, which is still to this day being used in hospitals across the nation. They're still killing people. It all needs to be exposed, and I believe it will. I believe it's just a matter of time. I beg everybody to watch the movie Vax 3. It exposes the truths surrounding the hospital COVID protocols, and it exposes the truth surrounding the COVID-19 vaccine.
Looks like this. Vax 3.
Get me on Vax 4, yo. Get me on Vax 4. I'm ready. Let's go.
Right? And I encourage everyone to watch Vax 1 and 2. It educates about the dangers of, the childhood vaccines.
All right, I got two.
And you can get that on Children's Health Defense. Just go to children'shealthdefense.org, hit, movies, and they'll all come up.
So, so this is kind of a two-part question. So if you could sit down with the FDA and the HHS today, what would you demand or ask that they do next? And how do you see the role of nonprofits like ACOS for Autism or betrayalproject.org? What role do you think they will play in this new phase of the fight against vaccine injury and autism and just the whole mandates?
Well, first I would tell them, stop all the shots right now. Don't give another one ever. And My idea is when I win my lawsuit and I win millions, I want every single vaccine injured child to have vouchers to get treatments until they are healed.
Mm.
Yeah,
What about you, Kasey?
I mean, first of all, the FDA needs to be dismantled, period.
Yes.
You know, and everything from there. So, I mean, I wouldn't even want a conversation with them. I want to meet with Bobby. I want to meet with RFK. That is my end game goal. I want to sit with Bobby, and I want to shake his hand. I want to give him a hug, and I want to tell him thank you from the bottom of my heart, first and foremost. And then let's get to work, because there's a lot of things that I can show him that we can do. And we don't need the FDA. We don't need anything. We just need, I'm just telling you, we can find ways to help reverse these symptoms and help all of our babies. And we can do it together. And we can stop fighting. And people can understand that there's a much easier and better way. And that's not through the FDA, and that's not through time and testings and this and that and all this BS and nasty rhetoric of oh, well, you know, I'm not sure if that's like, stop. Let's come together. Let's find an answer. Don't go to the FDA. Don't go through anything else. Let's go, Bobby. I'm ready. You said you were ready to go to work. So am I. Let's go. Let's heal these babies.
So in closing, kind of let people know. You also have a podcast, so let people know, number one, how they can find out more information about what you're talking about and how they can get in touch with you. What is the best way to reach both of you? Go ahead.
So number one, I just want to say that I'm really proud of Michelle, and you know, she is definitely the reason why I'm here, to have the courage and strength to fight the way that I fight, because I watched her do it. And you know, I'm just honored to be here in this battle with all of you. You know, I got to share the stage with Heidi, and I'm just very grateful that there are other people out there that are validating my story and my life and my family and what we're trying to do. So you can find me on Instagram, Kasey Kahl. You can find you know, the bodybuilding 559 on Instagram too. You can go to thebodybuilding.us. Or you can go to ACOS for autism.org. It's AKOS, the number 4, or autism.org. And, you know, I call it ACOS because obviously I want to find a cure for my son. I want to find a cure for all autism. I want to find a way to heal all of these symptoms and just bad things, that the way that these babies are feeling that's happened to them. So I called the ACOS because I want to find the cure. And that's literally what we're trying to do. And we need funding and resources, and we're so close. You should see what we're doing with these babies, between some of Michelle's NAIA therapy, and I have this brain hub treatment room that's anti-inflammatory. We have all these devices. We have technology, brain hub helmets. We have lasers. I mean, you name it. We're doing things that no one is even trying, and we're seeing results. And so that's what I really want to see. I just want to see as many families coming in that have been affected by autism. We're not charging for consultations. We don't want to gaslight you. We want to hear your story, whatever your story may be. And then we want to find an answer for you and for your family and for your babies. And that is all that we're trying to do, is find a way to help give your son or daughter a better quality of life, because it was taken away from them.
Michelle, how can people find you?
Well, you put that so nicely, Kasey, and I am also so thankful for you, because you're incredible. And you have the bodybuilding, which I have been dreaming of for years now. I have been dreaming about having a treatment room with an autism sensory room and everything. And so when I found you, I found you on Instagram, and we just aligned. And when I left, my friend was like, "Hey, you know, he's famous too." And I was like, "What?" Crazy. And so, yeah, I don't know. I know that God has been leading the way this whole time. And I love that you have the facility there. So definitely, I encourage people to reach out to me too. And I know we share the same mission along with you ladies. So I'm super grateful. So people can find me on Facebook at Healing Ground, or just email me at healingground@yahoo.com, or, you know, through Kasey too, of course, if you need to get a hold of me somewhere else.
And you're on X too, as Healing Ground, right?
Yes. I don't use X a whole lot. I mean, I'm on there, but I don't find it as user friendly.
I know it's not user friendly, but you can get the word out. Get the word gets out a little further. Well, yeah. I appreciate you both sitting down and having this conversation with us. But most of all, what I appreciate about both of you is the moral courage to stand up and do the things that are right and to take action and to be out there and be vocal. So I love that moral courage is in short supply in this nation, and we need more of it. And so I hope people will support everything that you're doing and go to your website to find out more information. So thank you. Heidi, do you have any closing thoughts?
Hey, thank you guys so much. You guys are saving lives, and
Thank
it's
you.
a privilege to know you guys.
Thank you guys
All
very
right.
much.
You too, Heidi. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching this, and please spread the word and educate the public. Thank you.